Hello, welcome to the August Ramsey-Washington Metro Watershed District Board meeting. First order of business, I'd like to call to order. Second order of business, I'd like an approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Wonderful.
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Wonderful. Second, third order of the agenda is consent agenda. So we're approving all of these with one ask clarifying questions if necessary, as long as they don't sway your vote. And so at the end, let's do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Moved.
Second.
Perfect. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Questions, clarifying items?
I have a question on the Manitou Ridge Golf Course improvements. And
That's coming up. We're not quite there yet, but we're just under consent.
oh
Yeah.
sorry, I missed that.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's okay.
So I think it's just Dunbar, Harper, and Maplewood Police. It looks like a couple of rain gardens and then the police station update. No questions? Perfect. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. All abstained say abstain. Moving along to item number 4. It does not look like we have any visitors online or in the room, so we'll jump to regulatory program. Who is presenting?
All right. Mary is here today. So Nicole's on leave. She had her baby a week ago now. So Mary is here. And Mary did the packet.
Yeah, so I can give some context to each permit. So we've got 2 permits coming to you. The first one, 2523 Manitou Ridge Golf Course, was pulled from the consent agenda because our board member here, Ben, was the applicant. So we just wanted to be transparent about that. So this is a parking lot improvement at the White Bear Arena. It's just currently kind of a deteriorated gravel parking lot. So it's going to have some improvements and the stormwater will be treated through porous pavement. And then our second permit that we have here, sorry, I got those names confused. That's 2524 White Bear Arena. 2523, the Manitou Ridge Golf Course, is similar to the Goodridge Golf Course, if you guys remember that project at all. So they're going to be redoing and extending some cart paths at the Manitou Ridge Golf Course in White Bear, and they're going to be improving some of the sand bunkers. They have submitted a variance request with the Manitou Ridge Golf Course. There is a buffer impact between holes 9 and 10. I'll note that it's the existing cart path, and so they're just replacing a cart path that is already in the wetland buffer. All the new extents of the cart path are not within any wetland buffers on the project. Sorry for that confusion there, but let me know if I can help clarify anything between those 2 permits.
Thanks, Mary. I just had a quick clarifying question. It looked like in the Manitou Ridge Golf Course, I didn't fully understand what was meant by regrade. It's in the project description, regrading of the stone. Is that just along the path, or what is the stone under the path? Just wanted to understand that a bit.
That refers to the existing pavement. We are not, for the majority of the paths, I shouldn't say for all of them, there are 2 segments to meet the City of White Bear permitting requirements where we are removing base. But when they're talking about regrading stone, we're leaving that base intact and just grading it.
So that's sort of part of the path mechanism.
Yeah, so we'll only be taking out the bituminous layer, it's 3 to 4 inches, and then the base will be regraded out so that the bituminous crew can pave on top of that again.
Thank you for that. I saw the word grading and it just made me kind of curious. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, my question on Manitou Ridge Golf Course. It's a request for variance. And I'm curious, I recognize that it's an existing cart path going in the same footprint. What is the vegetation composition between the path and their pond?
Sure. Yeah, I was not on site for any wetland review, so I don't know the current vegetation, but we certainly would look at that when we do our initial erosion control walkthrough and make sure when they restore the vegetation between the 2, it's either matches or it is an improvement to the existing vegetation. with the perimeter control and then the stabilization after that, we would definitely be looking for like a nice buffer between the cart path and the existing wetland.
Yeah, the packet says, or the applicant says, it would be revegetated. And
Yeah.
I'm interpreting that as revegetated to similar to what's
Mhm.
currently there. I don't know for certain, but I'm wondering, since it is a request for a variance, if we could look to improve it. It's a narrow buffer between that cart and the pond, whether or not that could be native plants rather than a turf. Because it doesn't appear to me that it's a playable area.
Yeah, we do require anyone that has a variance request to a buffer impact to install native vegetation in the wetland buffer. So we would be looking for some native seed mix, kind of a taller vegetation than like a turf grass when we're dealing with the restoration of a wetland buffer that's temporarily impacted.
Okay. Do we know if it is currently turf?
It is currently turf almost all the way to the water's edge. It's a fairly steep cut into the bank there. I believe there's some cattails at the lower end, but it's primarily turf grass.
Yeah, but it seems like there might be some opportunity to put natives and get a little bit better habitat as well as runoff treatment.
Sounds
Yeah.
like that is the plan, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can certainly clarify in our follow-up comments that that's what we're looking for in that wetland buffer.
That'd be great, thank you.
You know, one thing to consider that they could push back, depending on where it lies on the golf course. The more the taller grass gets closer to the area of play, you tend to get balls in there, and then you slow down play because people are looking for golf balls and things like that. So that may be an argument coming back, but I don't know the specifics of exactly where this is at on the hole. So sometimes we see that coming back.
Sure. And there might be some species selection options, keep it a little bit shorter.
A little bit shorter as they could find it.
Buffalo grass or something like that versus turf.
Yep.
That would be still pretty short and wouldn't necessarily need to be mowed.
Yeah, I can't speak for Matt, but I'm knowing this area there, that whole buffer is primary. It's out of play.
Pretty far out of play.
It's behind a tee box.
Okay.
It's really far out of play on another fairway. Matt, in my communication with him, has a desire to nativize more of the course, so I can't see there being much push.
Okay.
Great.
This is really good. Any further questions? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve 25-23 Mantle Ridge Golf Course improvements?
I'll move to approve 25-23 Manitou Ridge Golf Course improvements.
Cool. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay. Any further questions or discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All abstain say abstained.
Abstain.
Okay. On to 25-24.
Yes, and I know I got these ones a little confused for you guys. So just to clarify, this White Bear Arena is the deteriorated parking lot that's currently gravel, and so they're looking for some parking lot improvements. And it'll be the storm water will be treated through pervious pavement, some couple different sections of that. And then this one was pulled off the consent with Ben as the applicant for this project. But there are no variances.
Yeah, I just had a clarifying question. What do we consider gravel? Is that isn't impervious? Do we consider that impervious out of curiosity? I truly don't
Sections
know.
of the parking lot were deemed to be impervious. And to prove that, Ramsey County actually ran infiltration testing through a civil design group, which showed that it was not permeating in areas of the parking lot.
Well, I really like the call out on the permeable pavers. And I just noticed that this particular one didn't call out that it's reducing the impervious area. And so I was just curious if that was something that was part of the plan or something that was potentially measurable. And if it's not measurable because it was variable across the gravel, that's perfectly fine, but I like the introduction of the pavers.
It's not pavers, it's a pervious asphalt.
Oh, forgive me, I misspoke. Whatever, the permeable pavement.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just want to be clear, so.
No, that's good. Happy with clarity. Any questions on this particular permit 2524? Do I have a motion to approve permit 2524?
I'll move that we approve permit 2524, White Bear Arena parking lot improvements.
Second.
Wonderful. Any further discussions? All in favor say, oh, did I hear something? Okay, good. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. All abstain say abstain.
Abstained.
2524 passes. Moving forward to regulatory monthly. You Mary?
Yeah. So we also have in the packet our monthly memorandum for enforcement. So we have our violations in the month of July, some meetings that we've had over the past month, and then our quick 2 updates were an update about that Vadnais Heights affordable housing project. And then we had a number of sites that had recently approved permits start construction. So Kendra and I were at quite a few sites getting their initial walkthrough started.
I just had a general question with how wet the year's been. How do you believe, or are you seeing any influence or impact on inspection findings?
Yeah, so we are definitely having to have more communication prior to and post rain event. So I would say we're having to have probably more than average communication with our sites and kind of having them be more self-sufficient at submitting their information to us as we're down a staff member. But we've been using them sending in their emailed reports and things like that. And then we've also found that sites have had to get a little bit creative with what BMPs they're using because we're having such large rain events that the standard BMPs are not withstanding some of these large rain events. So some sites have had to be creative with using multiple redundant protections to really withstand a large rain event.
Yeah, I have a comment, Mary, just kind of following up. I'd really like to compliment the program, given the number of projects you've been working on, human weather we've had, the amount of rain that you had to deal with, air quality alerts, being out there, lots of challenges, and being down a staff person. The number of violations is on par with previous months. And so I think that's a real testament to the education, early intervention, your walkthroughs, clear communication, just as you said, organizational expertise, program management, staff. So good job. Thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Very well stated. Did you have any additional information on the Vadnais Heights affordable housing project? I know the board was pretty excited to see it. We just wanted some updates, but any
It was,
reason that?
so it was in the EAW process and we had submitted comments as a staff for the EAW, and then when that was the last thing we had heard from them, and until they sent back some notifications saying thank you for your comments, here's a list of the comments received, but at this time we're withdrawing the EAW and the project is not moving forward. So
Okay, so that's
all we
what they
know.
did. Thank you. Very productive month. I don't have any further questions. Bruce? Moving on to the stewardship grant program. Paige, is that you?
That would be Ashley.
Hi, Ashley.
Hello. Yeah, pretty standard. We've had a few applications outside of the board approvals for staff approvals, but otherwise we're moving through the budget allocations pretty consistently. We're a little ahead in allocations versus time spent in the year, but kind of makes sense for what we would expect for projects. We don't have any big ones that were on our radar coming through, so we're looking good to keep it open for sure the rest of the growing season and into the late fall. So take any questions if folks have them.
Be interested to understand with some of the conversations held as part of this water week. I said it wrong. What is it? It's the 50th anniversary, but we're doing the whole week. Is that?
Oh, water week, yeah.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I'd be curious to see if any additional residency grants come through. I think 3 of the conversations I've held at various events were around, oh, you have a grant program? That's really interesting. I want to do something about that. So it'd be fun to see if that has reached a wider audience.
Yeah, I'll keep you guys posted next month if we have any extra stuff come in. So we do have I think quite a few plan sets that just came out from technical design in Ramsey County. So the Soil and Water Conservation Division is still training in additional staff for design. So they're pumping out as many plans as they can, and folks are still getting quotes. So we'll see. We'll see what comes through.
Very cool.
Just kind of a question, comment. We still don't have any public art applications. Is there a way that we can highlight that? Has there been any chatter but no applications? It'd be nice to kind of see that keep rolling.
Yeah, there is probably an application coming in the spring with the city of Maplewood. So we've been in discussions with them on that. And then I think we'll probably take a look this winter and just look at our current public art policy, because we do have a write-up of criteria, and see where we can flex that and promote it and where it makes sense to do that within the grant program. And so it's on our radar, but I agree, it'd be great to see it.
Good to hear it's on the radar.
Yes.
Very cool. So any further questions, Mr. Grant Program? There are no action items. I believe it is to Lauren. Any report?
Hi, everybody. Not too much to report on tonight, just reviewing some of the contract documents for the projects that went out for bid and were awarded, or that were awarded last month. So those came across my desk, and otherwise just kind of normal contract reviews and things like that happening from here. So unless anyone has any questions, that's all I have.
Questions for Lauren? Thank you.
Thank you.
Board discussion topics. Any discussion topics from the board? Very cool. Moving forward to number 10. Yeah, just moving along.
Yeah.
New reports and presentations, the budget planning. I assume I hand that to you, Tina.
Yes. Yes. So I provided in this month's packet the memo along with a draft table, some breakout information, as well as a line by line, so that you can get a good handle on what each of those lines are used for. There's a lot of them, so I know it can be a little overwhelming looking through all that. The first thing I want to say, and it was the first thing I think I wrote pretty much in the memo, is I'm showing that 8% levy. I definitely don't expect to move forward with that. What I heard from you last month was to a 0. So what I wanted to show you is what the increase would be if we did everything we needed to do with the levy amounts that we needed to have. Mm-hmm. And so that's the 8.3. And what that shows you then is that there's about 600,000, right? That's would either need to be cut or funded differently, as I mentioned in the memo as well, to get to that. Now, this budget is very preliminary yet. Things are very dynamic. I just heard one project that is in the budget for targeted retrofits isn't going to be able to move forward next year. That's the Phelan Golf Course Reuse Project. So that's something, you know, I can start moving, adjusting things. I'm also getting some updated project costs, things like the Coleman in-lake treatment. Those numbers are being refined, as well as the Wakefield aeration project. Those numbers are very dynamic right now too, as far as, you know, talking to the vendors and getting ideas for how much those projects are going to cost. So there's still a lot of room for movement here. So you'll see that come in September. That we'll kind of keep refining that as we go. I mentioned in the memo specifically around the Coleman Lake project, but also the Wakefield. We'll have more information at the September meeting, so you guys can have a handle on what those projects could look like and cost. One of the big things I mentioned in the memo is that we do have, if you notice in the budget status report, our flood risk reduction fund is quite high. We've, over the last several years, we've kind of pre-funded that to build that up in anticipation of some bigger projects. I mean, to our benefit, as we've, you know, honed in and done more feasibility on those projects, we've found that either there wasn't as big of a fix needed as we thought, or we had partners that were willing to help fund, like the County Road C project, for instance, or the blanking on what the other one was that we had some funding from our partners on. But so we just haven't needed that level of funding on a year-to-year basis, or really even looking out even in the next couple of years. I would anticipate we'll have a couple, you know, more $1 million projects, but we have $5 million in that fund. And I think it would be worthwhile if the board was willing to think about transferring those funds into these other projects, so that we can complete those projects with a levy increase for this next year. So that's what I'm proposing as far as looking ahead at how we can still do everything we'd like to do in 2026, but not have as big of an impact on our growth.
You want to mention some of the, because it looked like you were asked to apply for the 3M PFAS grant on a couple of different programs.
So that was the other piece of it. So we have that 600,000, and then, as I mentioned in that table right now, I've got the Coleman in-lake alum treatment. That is one that we were invited to apply for a grant on. That's a nearly $900,000 project. So that could have a significant impact, obviously, if we were awarded that grant. The timing on that grant's a little frustrating. So we're invited to apply by October. We won't find out until spring, and there's no date, right? It's just a spring. We also would need to treat in the spring. So if we were going to do that next year, there's potential we could treat in the fall too, but it's a better process. We could do it in the spring.
On that project, there are a few different mentions in you break out the budget in a couple of different ways. And then in the kind of project summary, which I guess we'll talk about when we get to the end, but it's referenced several times about the grant and potential for a grant. And I'm curious, is just the one that 3M PFAS, or is there another grant that we've already maybe considered for the Coleman?
Yeah, I was curious about that because 3M's mentioned for that, and then the Fish Creek.
And the Fish Creek, yeah. So we put in letters of interest for both of those projects, and they both were said that we could
I
apply.
thought there was something from the PCA that we were thinking might be applicable for Coleman Creek.
Coleman, or for Coleman Lake.
Yeah.
I don't
Nope.
think so.
No, just this one.
Bad memory.
No, could be on my end.
I think we'll come next month with.
Roadville Homes is the MC and PCA implementation grant.
Yeah, that one's for this. Yeah.
We have WBIF funds set aside for Fish Creek. But yeah, I don't think anything else for Coleman.
So knowing that you were invited to do two for the same grant, what's our strategy for planning for that? Is that we assume that it covers one of those programs, or
Well, I mean, if we apply for both of them, we're hopeful that we could get
get
both of
both?
them.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's.
It's a pretty big dollar amount if
It's
we
big
get both
dollar
or we
amounts on
don't.
both.
Yeah.
It's a pretty big grant program, so it's just unclear. I don't know if they gave any information about like how many they received or how many they invited to versus the amount of
Yeah,
money
not that
they
I've
have
seen.
available, but
Is this how do I say this, a single ask grant request, or is this something that we might have in future years as well?
I think it's a single
I think so.
request.
Yeah. At this time.
At this time, yeah, that I'm aware of. You know, this was all the settlement money, and they had done
Mhm.
large grants for cities to do their drinking water treatment facilities. This was like the next phase of it, and I believe it was the rest of the money, you know, so I don't believe there was an additional funding source for that.
Could we step back
Yeah.
to the discussion about the 5 million for the flood reduction and the potential for redistribution? This is probably not the forum to really have a detailed conversation on that, but in the packet, you had intimated something that you could provide more information and either here or at another
At the next meeting, yeah.
Could we maybe explore that just a little further?
Yeah, I think there's really not, I mean, a lot more to it other than I can show you, you know, what our balance is. We can anticipate some of the bigger projects that we have coming up in the next few years. And then, you know, I can show you how much I think is available that we could redistribute. If it was something that was of interest for them.
My notes, the one kind of flag, not a red flag, maybe flag that goes up is just looking forward when the next, I forget, is it Atlas 21 or whatever?
Yeah,
you
it's
know,
15, yeah.
You know, there is potential for flood. It's dynamic kind of situation, and so I hate to not pull it down
Yeah,
too far. I think that
Yeah.
1.5 million seems like it's probably a reasonable
a
approach.
safe amount, yeah.
But yeah, we do definitely want to have that as a available fund in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking like I was thinking in terms of percentages, and it's a really small percentage to bring it down, frankly, to cover some of the other ones. But yeah, I was going down similar pathway to Mark. I think we could look at the dollars that we've used efficiently for flood reduction and turn it into quite a narrative on all the proactive work that we've done, while also informing the board. And so we could, I would like to see us do some of that with respect to, we've been allocating for years, proactively looking at it and instituting changes during dry years. And, you know, as you and I have chatted just informally, it feels it's too early to claim any kind of victory, but it does feel like we've made a difference. And so I think that could be a really nice storyline. But again, looking at percentages, it's only 25%. Did I get that right? No, it's 30% reduction.
30% reduction.
Yeah. From if you believe the average spend that we typically do for those is less than that, I'm very happy.
Yeah.
But you know, we don't have to make a choice now. I do think having some detail on like we use these dollars efficiently and this is how we've done it would be good. And I'm a big believer in it would be nice to have zero levy increase. I'm still a fairly strong proponent of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also would support the thing that worries me is the next
Big
thing. Yeah. So you never know where it's going to show up, and we've been extremely proactive, and that is, I mean, the highlight again is the end of July. Good things. But we continue development, and these rains are getting more and more seriously intense.
Yeah.
So I would hate to make a big, make it a practice to cut
Yeah,
into that fund.
yeah, I agree.
Looking at this and thinking through related spend associated to both flood and possible water quality. In earlier conversations, I think it was Mark and a few others have talked about, should we take some time with all the data we've collected to look at how we store and manage our data generally? I know that there's, pathways that we're using today, they work well today. Are there ways that we can improve that just to make the use of data easier for both the staff and interpretable for the that's something that I know isn't directly called out. Maybe it doesn't need to be a budget line item, but if we do have an ability to look at data management to set us up for insights and automation in the future, that might be an interesting thing to.
I don't think it's not clear in here because it's kind of nuanced in there, but there are a couple of items that do speak to that.
Okay.
One is in our database equipment and database GIS. So we are looking at improving our database system for all of our program, regulatory, cost share, and facilities. So all of our inspection and maintenance work as well. So we are looking at a new database system that would help with that. So
That would be really
for
good.
collecting and then also for visualization and use of that data. The other thing is under water quality or water monitoring. So BAR, we're talking, our staff is talking with BAR staff about how we can better utilize our water monitoring data. And again, around visualization and data sharing of that. So there is some money set aside in both of those.
That was really good to hear. It didn't jump out.
Yeah.
That's really good to hear. I just see it's going to be the wave that empowers us in the future. So I'm really happy to see that working.
Yeah, I actually was going to ask kind of, I think it's line 33, the 60,000.
Yeah.
And not to get into the weeds, but I'm curious if that 60,000 is kind of a ballpark, or if you've actually gotten to a point where you really have a pretty good handle. I have a little bit of experience with not developing, but seeing new databases coming on, and they can be expensive. And so I was surprised just if it can be done for 60,000.
So it is so we're talking, and maybe Ashley, if you're available to hop on, she's the one that's been researching this and looking at that, but we are looking at MS Forefront, which is a proprietary product from Houston Engineering. Ashley, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, we do have, we did get some base numbers quoted, I should say draft proposal from Houston Engineering. And so the current line 33 budget line is enough, is good to get us started. There'll definitely be future costs as we transition. So it'll be a balancing act of how much do we transition every year, and kind of how much we get set up and how much customization. But we do have rough numbers, so and kind of expectations for it. So it helps that the software is existing software, and it's customizable by default. So it helps cut on some of those costs as far as building like a new database and fully customizing it. So
sounds like the presentation that was given, that I think Race Creek and Cap Region, that's the same. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
correct.
if I remember right, it's kind of a module type thing. So yeah, it seems like it's something you do add-ons, build, so all right.
It will help improve efficiency and data collection immensely for staff. So and like I said, with the customizations that are available, it's got a lot of cool options that we can kind of make it what we want it to be. So
It could be fun to geek out about that offline a little bit more, because
I will happily any day.
there are definitely some who enjoy that.
So
Thanks, Ashley.
Yep.
Thank you for clarifying that too, actually.
And another one of the, I guess, questions, the water monitoring lab costs and equipment.
Yeah.
that's projected as potentially being reduced costs?
Yeah.
Are there some protocols, some analytes that are being proposed?
So there's
as
two
being
different
reduced?
things that this year in 2025, we've been doing additional monitoring on Battle Creek for the TSS TMDL. And that was a huge, that was like I think most of that increase is from that. Or the change from this year to next year is due to that will be done. So we collected enough storm events this year where we've had plenty of storm events to do that. Oh, and Eric's here too, so you can answer or clarify if I misspeak. The other thing is we actually changed our lab that we're sending to and at a reduced rate. So have some pretty significant savings from that change as well.
So you were with Pace?
We were with Pace and now it's our RGB. Is that the right letters?
RMB.
RMB.
It's what Ramsey County uses, a couple other watersheds use. It was quite a huge, significant savings, so I think it would be a good switch over.
No change in typical analytes there?
Nope. And actually, we're getting lower reporting limits for less cost. So it's kind of a win-win.
As we look at initiatives around chloride and other measures, does this new lab adequately provide measures for chloride?
Yes. Yep.
And I was going to ask the same question on PFAS. I assume not, though. We still need to learn more about that, I feel.
Yeah, I haven't asked about that. But I'll check in with them, see if they do.
It is on the action item. It's just one of those I might ask to bubble up, but yeah, maybe not for this lab and the way that we do it. I'm just kind of curious because there's been advances, is what I keep
So
reading.
we do have a speaker lined up for the October meeting.
Good.
Around, so we can kind of circle back on.
Poke 'em. Yeah, that works.
My last question.
Yeah.
The projection of project operations, line 42. This is so far could do Gopher 1 integration for the belt line as well as Battle Creek tunnels.
Yeah.
Is that kind of a one-time deal getting it, or is that an ongoing?
So the budget is set aside for any responding to those. So really,
wise,
we really don't know, how many. I don't know if we had any estimate. I'm sure Nathan probably estimated some sort of, because Capital Region does it for their Trout Brook. And so he did have some comparison information that he was using, I think, to develop that budget.
I was hoping it was the one.
Yeah.
Done in a second, but
No.
probably not.
No.
Okay.
I guess it sounds like a lot of it can be desktop, so it's lower cost. So there is a level of information that can be shared at a desktop level. Not all of it requires in the field markings, but that does happen as well. And it will, I think it's wise to move forward with that. We have had a few things over the years where other utility have made impact with our pipe in places, but not a huge problem, but there have been cases.
I had a question on line 49.
Yeah.
On the stewardship grant fund.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more about the $250,000 increase?
Yeah, I don't know, Paige or Ashley, if you're.
Yeah, Ashley, you want to go ahead on that one?
Sure. Yeah, so we are looking to obviously push the chloride reduction grants, kind of expanding on those. Currently in the program guide, they're supported projects, but there's not necessarily like an explicit, like we would like to see XYZ projects. And we know that some of those projects, as data is coming out, they're not on the cheap side. So having a little wiggle room to push some of those bigger ones, reaching out to our partners, even neighboring watershed districts to potentially fund some like practices and stuff, working with Lauren and communications as well, to reach out throughout the community, see where we can do little projects or get partners to do the chloride reduction. And then that kind of goes hand in hand with the partner grant idea, is that we want to be able to offer more partnership funding. There's already, the communications program already kind of does that, but doing it in a way where we're focusing on the like grant type projects and education on those. And so Cap Region has a similar program that we'll be kind of looking at and reaching out to them. They've had really great success with that, with different partners getting different projects up and off the ground, or even just different like events being funded. And so we're seeing a need in our district for that, where we can really be a role to help some of those community organizations do those kinds of things.
So events or their own educational outreach work as well. Yeah.
Yep.
So could that, maybe we don't, could it include something like private corporation, big parking lot, and they could bring in street sweepers. You know, a lot of parking lots don't get swept. Most of that is streets, but given the studies, we could see a lot of benefit from sweeping some of those parking lots as impervious surface. So is that something that this funding could maybe, it's maybe not chloride specific, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think potentially, to some extent, we want to kind of run them as pilots, and see, you know, truly where the needs are, when they like on specific projects. I think we're gonna continue to follow the goal of the overall stewardship grant program, right, where we want to see water quality improvement, or flood reduction. And so in that same vein, what are the groups proposing, corporation, private, nonprofit, that would lead to either habit changes in their communities, that would support those same goals of the grant program that already exist. So it could be something like that. We haven't worked out all the details, and we'll present more on that and get your guys' feedback as well. But yeah, we want to make sure that if we can squeeze it in the budget and increase it while maintaining our existing funding for residencies and our partners in large properties. It will be, we definitely see a need with it, as we've seen, you know, different funding cuts come down. A lot of times they're coming down on water resource programs. So that really struggles with some of our partner organizations. So being able to step in and support those is one of the goals.
And it's a good point to mention is, you know, we're trying to maybe earmark that extra money now during this process, but you will see a presentation from Ashley and other staff around those items before they're approved as part of the program. So you're not accepting that now as part of the budget.
Can I build on your question? Did you have a follow-up?
No, go ahead on that.
So this is more of a curiosity. So it does seem like there's more interest in stormwater reuse projects. Could you just walk me through the thought process of keeping it in target retrofit, and whether or not y'all have considered it as a grant potential fund to encourage people to do it? Because target retrofit, y'all reach out to different groups.
So we would, so if someone comes to us with a reuse project, they could qualify for a stewardship grant. We don't have it spelled out specifically.
Okay, so there is some overlap there?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, it appears that, I mean, it's a great use of the water, especially if we're getting rain and, you know, we have these different holding ponds around. So I just was like, oh, maybe you could get more use if it was in grant funding, but is it clear on the website that they can do something?
Double check, but I think it's listed as an option.
It is, okay.
For reuse, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just like all of our kind of target retrofits, sometimes they come in and we go, oh, is that a project that we are gonna do? Or is this a grant funded? You know, and the difference is the reimbursement, right? So if somebody comes in for a grant, then they do the project and we reimburse versus if we do it.
Yeah, so generally speaking though, on those, just help me with this, the difference is we would do more project management of it than the other.
Yeah, and design, and you know, everything would be done by in-house by us. on a
Yes,
targeted
I
retrofit.
mean, it's just been impressive following along with those retrofit programs, specifically on the reuse. It's like, oh, what a great idea.
Yeah.
So, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
I have one last question under CIP.
yeah.
The mall SRF grant funding. Can you remind us the terms, how long that goes?
Yeah, actually, I was, let me.
Maybe roughly, if you don't.
Yeah, I think we only have like 3 years left on the mall one. I was just looking at that.
Part of my kind of question is that I know the city of Maplewood has had, I've seen some things in newsletters. We're probably gonna be seeing changes in the mall.
Yeah,
They've got some small businesses and excited about that, but just over time, we're likely to see bigger changes in that place, that facility. And so I was curious kind of how long that SRF, because then a conversation I had with Cliff maybe a year and a half ago was just kind of putting it in my head that, we have some kind of strings with other partners over the funding formula that's used for the mall.
Right.
And trying to keep, mainly the mall owners,
yeah,
keep them engaged
yeah.
longer term. And so I think that's something we need to probably
Well,
keep
yeah.
an eye on.
Oh, we've been pretty engaged with them, or tried to be.
Yeah.
We've had, this has probably been the most complicated partnership we've ever engaged in, but there's been a lot of road bumps, but yeah, we're still in communication with them, and we'll continue that. But we have 2 years left, so 2027 is when we're done.
They're kind of two different things, but
Yeah,
I have one more question.
Yeah.
Going to the top, on engineering,
yeah.
the increases, are significant over 2025 on a percentage basis, and I was just, wondering if you could speak to this,
Under the admin?
under
or-
the engineering, it hits admin, and then the permit application, and I'll
Yeah,
avoid the project feasibility, because I know we're doing more, but.
right, yeah.
Just on a percentage basis, are we
Yeah.
using more, or are the rates going up, just kind of?
Using more. Is what
So I think it's a combination of both. Rates have gone up. And, there's more involvement, more communication with district staff and between district staff and our staff. We've got a lot more things going on. And so, at times there's not a project set up. It's in anticipation of a project or a study or things like that. And so it's before we actually get those particular line items set up, we're seeing more and more of that. We do meet this past year. It's been, I think, very helpful. We pre-meet before board meetings. We meet afterwards as well to kind of download and make sure we've captured everything to keep it going forward. And so you'll see a lot of these things that maybe 5 years ago were dragging out further. Now we're kind of staying more on top of those, and a lot of that falls into that engineering admin number. Other things, communication with the public, for example, not only the public, but all of you, that story map takes a bit to update each month and keep going for informational purposes. So it's little pieces here and there that are working things up, in addition to some rate increases.
And definitely under permit application review too, we're just seeing a lot of really intensive projects that require more bar support as we've been going on. So that was the increase. We, the last, I would say, couple of years, we bumped right up against that budget every year. So we bumped that up a little bit.
No, it's good to know.
Yeah.
I should use the story map more often.
Yeah.
Because I frankly, I don't.
Yeah, it does have a lot of data and information in there, and that's the one that's at the top of the project status report, the link. It's helpful, I think, for staff too. I mean, we use it as a staff too, so.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions so I was reviewing the CIP, and I'm curious if our CIP selection process, if we should target more programs, if we're have some leftover funds in that particular one.
Which you're talking about the
Line
maintenance
item
and repair.
453. There's something that I heard recently, it might have been from one of the staff members on the tour, but they doubled down on like the importance of a lot of what we do is in the maintenance. It's in what we, the continuing ongoing. And so I was a little surprised we had a fairly sizable carryover. And so it just made me wonder if we could have opened our aperture or done more of the CIP. Is that an input into us deciding by the end of the year if we should have say we'll add one more project or something to that degree?
Some of that is legacy carryover, so not necessarily
gotcha.
year to year. So definitely not year to year, because I think if you looked at the budget status report, we've spent, I think, everything we planned to budget for this year.
Yeah.
So some of it is, like I said, over the years, we've built up the fund itself has been built up.
Got you. Okay, so that
So it has,
100 was built up then.
so it's mostly, I mean, and this is early in the
Yeah,
year to
yeah.
estimate that, so that could change, that carryover amount could change in that line item. But especially on that one, just because of what you're saying too, things come up and we like to have a little bit there, and be able to respond to some of that.
Oh yeah, and we've seen it with the change orders as it comes through. I just it made me curious. We've done a lot of amazing things.
Yeah.
We have to make sure they're maintained. I initially wrote, "Oh, I'm not sure if it's sufficient," and then I went through and looked at a couple other things. I was like, "Oh, actually,
Yeah.
do it pretty well."
The other thing I will note too is that we budget for like a full, like the CIP maintenance repair project, we budget for that whole project so that we have the
Up
cash
front.
flow
Yeah.
upfront. But we get reimbursed for quite a bit of that now with our ponds. So if our project is mostly ponds, we're getting reimbursed for that. So some of that carryovers from that as well.
Yeah, maybe it'll be a good conversation when we look at CIP programs, just to talk through that. Subsequent question, it was on the flood reduction line item 55. It's not critical to fall into that one line. So I was looking at, we've talked a lot about wetlands and their management through bounds, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Is looking forward in the next few years as we do our plan, is there going to be a need for more dedicated dollar amount for managing, in some cases, the bounds through those things for wetlands, out of curiosity? And how is that?
And what do you mean by managing?
I don't have a good answer
Yeah,
for managing.
okay,
I was
yeah.
just thinking, like, we've had a lot of talks about the regulations or the different rules that different groups have. It does seem like some of ours are strict in one way and less strict in others. So it made me curious if we tighten those rules as part of our planning cycle, if we would
In our regulatory program?
Yes.
I don't anticipate that we would need a budget for that, but
Okay.
if we were regulating that differently.
Yeah, and this is all in the future, but it's not mentioned in anything.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, does it fit to this?
I think, like you said, if we're having those discussions during the watershed management plan update next year, we'll have a better idea of what that may be for the following year.
Yeah, my gut tells me that there might be some changes. I don't know if they're substantial, and so I just I want to keep eyes on it. It's kind of my thought.
I just throw one thing out. It's kind of an add-on that conversation, which would have costs, is as we see the climate change continuing and all that that brings, and the realization that bounce in many of our wetlands and ponds, and certainly wetlands, can be detrimental. It might be something that at some point we would need to look at some outlet changes in some of those systems, kind of like the discussion that's happening that we'll get into in the resolution, but the adequate outlets and under drainage, that kind of conversation that we're not.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out. We'll probably have to.
I mean, I think a lot of that was looked at during the all of our Beltline feasibility and non-Beltline Southern District Park feasibility that was looked at, the drain flows and outlets and modifications. I mean, that's some of our work, a lot of our work has been outlet modification. So I do think we're on track. I think your comment about, you know, the changing of the climate and looking at Atlas 15, I mean, I think we'll anticipate there'll be some incremental changes that may warrant, you know, additional projects. But
Yeah, I mean, it'll be good carrying forward into the planning cycle because there's some good publications that I've just found around even in Minnesota, like different considerations, not maybe requirements for some of what you talked about. So it'd be good to talk through some of that.
Yep.
Man, you covered every other question. You guys are just on top of it. This is great. I'm a huge fan of the manufactured home study. I would like to see that continue. I saw some notes in the program and I was happy to see it almost called out explicitly in 55. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I don't think. Oh, technology reporting. So maybe this is a little different from what I keep watching. Technology is advancing super fast. What dollars would be necessary to have the technology report come more frequently? Out of curiosity, I don't know. It says 17K in there right now, and
for the new tech report.
yeah. Out of curiosity, like we talked about the NANO bubbles, we obviously discussed it, and like there's new technologies constantly coming, and so is this a good time to say, oh, we want to maybe see something new twice every other month?
So I think right now it's budgeted for 6 times
Yes,
in a
it is.
year. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I just haven't recognized the
how
pattern,
many
quite frankly.
Yeah,
it
I'm not sure
hasn't
there
been
is
a
a
good
pattern. It hasn't been like thing. I think it's been, you know, when we've come up with, or we said, oh, can you do this, that, you know, or they ask, or Bar says, you know, what if we share this? So we can, I think, could be more patterned.
I don't know how much it costs, honestly. As I look through, again, Googling things around, probably way out of my depth. There's so many cool things coming up. Just curious.
Yeah, I think, you know, that 17 is planned for about, I think 6 or 7 maybe, but that's.
When would you like us to ask versus y'all pick, out of curiosity?
I mean, I think if you have ideas that you're interested in, and we can schedule them, you know, schedule them in. And we can also say, I don't know, we've heard.
Oh, this is good.
But
Thank
no,
you.
we are always open to that if you come across something and you're interested in hearing more about it.
Just a last thing, at least last thing for me, in the budget. Can you just say a couple of words or a little bit about how this progresses? I mean, the last couple of years, I seem to recall that we had the discussion in August. And then we have the meeting, the public meeting in September. We don't really usually have people, you know, raise many issues, and then we don't really hear too much about it until like December. I don't know, is that kind of the process?
That's it. So there are a few other things. So we'll have, and there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes, maybe in those in between months too. But so after this meeting, I put together the public notice along with Lauren's office, helps with that, gets that published. So that's inviting people to come to our September meeting, provide any comments. We'll also have that on our website. I also send that to all of our city and county partners and offer them an opportunity to comment on our proposed budget. What I would do is take whatever feedback I heard today, which includes showing I'll show a 0%, and I'll show, a distribution of other funds for those to get to that 0 amount. And then in September, yes, we have the public hearing, we provide some more information, there's a presentation, we have some more discussion, I'll give a highlights of things that have changed from what you've seen today versus what you'll see in September. And then it's a lot of refining of budgets for projects and carryover amounts. And if there were something significant, I could bring it to you in October and November, but then December would be when you would see my final proposed budget for your review. There really shouldn't be a lot of surprises or changes at that point, really, even after I get direction from September. But if there were anything that came up, I would share it with you in between.
Okay, that's helpful.
Any further questions on the budget planning? It's healthy discussion, thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Moving forward to the administrative report. You were here for a week in July, right?
Since the last meeting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. Let me find my place here. Yes, I didn't have a lot of meetings in between that time. I have a few upcoming meetings, things highlighted. The 50th anniversary celebration. We'll have another board meeting before then, but I just want to make sure that's all on your radars. Again, you should have received a save the date as well. Official invite should be coming out in the next couple of weeks. Few other meeting items in there, a couple staff anniversaries. And then I have the board action log. As I mentioned that in October, we'll have somebody here to talk about PFAS, but then we'll continue, that'll go into plan development as well. And then Minnesota watersheds. So I did submit the packet for the delegates or the form for the delegates for Val and Ben. That meeting is still planned for August 25th via Zoom. So you all are invited to attend. You should have received that link. I believe she sent that in the packet, or it will be coming.
I think you and I are.
Yeah. All right. So then I just wanted to leave an opportunity if you had any questions, comments, anything you wanted to share with Val and Ben in particular about the resolutions that will be discussed at that special meeting. Give that opportunity for you guys to discuss that. There were 3 resolutions. The one is regarding, resolution number 1 was regarding public drainage system repairs and expanding the exemption under the Wetland Conservation Act. Resolution 2 is very specific to water management organizations, WMOs, and a revision to clarify that for WMOs. And then resolution 3 is regarding the efficiency with state agencies around permits and application completeness. So.
The resolution 1, I see that the committee recommendation is to approve it. I think that they're from the initial proposed resolution when we first saw that in July. I think the committee revised some of the language and I thought that was good. I do think that this is my sense, so it could come from, I think, Coon Creek, which is one, Metro. But I personally, from some of my past professional exposure experience, there is a difference between Metro and outstate.
Yeah.
And I just want to acknowledge that. But a kind of concern that I have potentially, and I think ultimately probably it's something we should support, but by expanding the exemption, I think that takes out some potentially regulatory review that might be beneficial. And that's maybe agency regulatory, not necessarily our regulatory review.
Right.
And so kind of my example would be, because they want to also eliminate, I think, the 25-year. So that, the scenario, just not to go too far into this, but there was a ditch that was dug in the 30s or whenever. It wasn't a really quote unquote adequate ditch, maybe at the time. The industry was different then than it is now. Just the mechanics and the funding, the interests, and the way that. But that has continued to serve as a drainage, and in some cases, it can take on, if it may go through a wetland, and many of those ditches were conveyed through wetlands, could say they're wastelands and we want, that's where we want water to go. And there's sediment that, goes into those wetlands as well, So the ditch over time kind of degrades. And so I think that where I have a sense that this resolution is coming from, and I can appreciate this, is that a lot of the watershed districts that deal with ditches have a horrendous time getting things permitted. And that is an issue, and I recognize the issue, but if it's just about the ditch, we want to get that, there are some potential wetland features that could be potentially harmed. And, in some circumstances, and a regulatory review would have the hopeful ability to maybe consider those, whereas if you put this into kind of the exemption, then it becomes, well, doesn't have a regulatory. So
Yeah, I think it still would have the review, to make sure it qualifies for the exemption, and that still, so there was still, somebody will still have eyes on it, the TEP or the process for that. I also think, this is referring to the water, the ditch managers, which in this case is the watershed district. So hopeful that they would, be considering those things in addition. The balance, I think actually that is one of the whereases, that they're trying to balance the timely repair while also protecting the water resources.
right, and there's language that talks about protecting, wetland resources.
Yeah, I see what you're saying though, for sure.
Yeah, so, I mean, I just wanted to raise that as if the discussion, depending upon how it goes, that it would be appropriate to bring that here. I think ultimately a company probably should support.
Took note, thank you. Any other comments on the resolutions?
Not on the resolutions, but I was wondering if I could go back to the action log.
Yeah.
Just an ask, with the budget asked to expand the stewardship grants to include chloride reduction projects. I was just wondering if it might be possible to move the chloride use reduction talk to sometime yet, this year.
Yep, good question.
Thanks.
Building on that, I would, if possible, making sure that we do see all of these in 2025 would be helpful. And if you want help prioritizing, I did something very similar to what Stephanie did. I prioritized the chloride work.
Yep.
And then the second one, I'd be really interested in the shoreline assessments as well.
Yeah, I think that one, if you're okay, I mean, so all of these were planned for over the next year, starting now, basically, to do for the watershed management plan update, that to be worked in, but so I could see like what Stephanie was saying about the chloride because of the
For the budgeting.
Yeah.
As long as
the
we
shoreline
get,
is a high priority as well.
as long as we get to them as part of the planning, I'm happy Stephanie brought us back to that. That is, in my eyes, a really top priority. The next ones are like, we're gonna have engagement things that we have to with the shoreline assessments and impervious surface reduction. Those are important, but that's how I prioritize it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Cool. What's the process of alerting if not make it for competing reasons?
To change delegates, you mean?
Yes.
Is anyone else available? We can just.
Mark is the
Yeah, Mark
we have
is
an
the
alternate.
alternate.
alternate. I just want to know, because we had to make a motion for the delegates
Yeah,
before.
we're fine.
I'm not saying that I
I
can't.
can't.
I am saying that it's during an interesting phase
Yeah,
at work.
yeah, no problem.
They don't really care if
I
I
can
take the day
understand
off.
if there's any, but I know Mark would be fine because he's.
He's-
I have it on my calendar and I was planning to attend and I'm interested in kind of hearing the discussions.
Yeah.
I
Good.
some of the Minnesota watershed stuff, I'm like, no, wait, time, or one at a time.
Well, every
I think
resolution
it's
one we've
was
been
left.
to together, you've always had insightful comments during the discussions. I just wanted to ask, and
Yeah.
I will facilitate through you if it is me, and
Yeah.
others if you can't make
That's
it, please.
okay. Thank you.
Nicole's not here to congratulate her on 12 years. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Should we move to project and program status reports?
Yeah.
I still very much like A. Just going to continue to throw that comment out there.
Yeah.
In some of those instances, the only follow-up question I had, and it ties into D. As we look across our district, have we had reports of flooding? Out of curiosity.
I don't have anything to report, nothing that we've heard
The
from
city
the
or
cities
anything.
or anything. No.
We actually had some good feedback. Lauren and her team attended a national night out at Eastside Boys and Girls Club, and a lot of Roosevelt Homes residents attended, and she said she got several comments about how prior they would have seen flooding and now they haven't seen anything. So
Yeah.
yes, they were very excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Firsthand.
Yeah.
It's funny, in another conversation I had with someone, it was very much like, oh, so-and-so got flooded or so-and-so got flooded. I was like, oh, which water district is that?
Yeah.
And like, oh, we have no idea, but they live in this area. It's like, oh, that's this water district. Very cool. I just wanted to comment on E. I really like the partnership with the Roseville mentioned in the update for the Roseville Central Park work. I think partnership and highlighting the partnership is important. So I really appreciate what y'all are doing there. My next question or comments is on G.
Yeah, I have G as well.
Why don't you go first, bud?
So my comment, I'm not at G in the packet, but maybe I should go find it in the packet.
Well, I can.
You go.
Yeah, you got it. Just building on the comments that we've made about chloride a couple times, as I'm assuming some of this work on the lake quality monitoring and the chloride management needs for 2026, that's going to be included in our discussion.
Yeah.
That's what I just want to double check on.
Yeah, okay. My comment is, can any information be provided on monitoring plans? So there was discussion between BAR and the district, and so I'm trying to tap into kind of what some of that might have been.
For 2026 plans?
Yeah, or will there be a presentation provided?
Well, so, Eric's presentation for monitoring is usually in the spring.
Yeah.
May-ish. So that's when that would be presented. We could provide an update I don't have anything necessarily planned to provide what the plan is for monitoring, but if there's anything special or unique, I guess we can share that.
Yeah, and I guess I don't have anything specific. I'm
Yeah.
just trying to tap, are there any changes, big things,
Yeah.
something we should maybe be aware of, but I see Eric popped up.
Yeah, do you have anything you wanna share at this point? Otherwise we can plan for a packet too.
Yeah, nothing I can think of. I've been talking with Bar kind of before the budget stuff to see if there's any big or new monitoring, and there wasn't anything. We are meeting with Bar and the U tomorrow to talk about some chloride monitoring specifically and what to do with the data we've collected and going forward. But yeah, no special projects that I know of.
And on that specific topic, I seem to recall from your report, the chloride monitoring, you've been doing that at a stratified, at least in some places. So different depths.
Yeah, well, so we do all of our lakes in partnership with Ramsey County. Every early ice out, we do monitoring, and there we are doing multiple. We're doing the top 2 meters in the bottom of all the lakes. And then we've done some early chloride monitoring throughout the district, about 30 sites each spring. And those tend to be small ponds or small places that are holding water that don't usually have enough depth to do multiple grabs. So we're just kind of doing the top 2 meters or top meter, or just sticking in something and grabbing a sample. But we are trying to find the max chloride level, which is usually the deep spot.
Thanks.
My next comment is just generally on the survey information. So it's a combination of 2, but so it looks like we had over 100 survey responses. Fantastic. When are we going to get some indication of trends or maybe some comments that are actionable out of that, out of curiosity?
So we're planning in the fall is when we were gonna come back to the board with kind of a real summarization of all the public engagement.
Fall, okay. I apologize about the hand scratch when I filled out a bunch of them, so the paperwork in terms of like helping other people do it.
Yeah, I think
it'll
Cooper
be
took care of that, so he got it.
I don't have any other comments outside of, I think Mark said it really well, and I just want to double down on, Paul and the team for all the maintenance and shoreline and engagement work. It's been a very hot season. So I was really blown away by the Keller Lake stuff. I hadn't been that close to it, and it was cool to see. Yeah. Thank you, Paul. Good job.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to the team.
Love the photo, by the way. Where were you? Looks like you're harvesting some curly leaf, or that's something else. Am I misinterpreting?
Is it the one with the trailer and the team?
Yeah.
That is on Lake Phelan and just a whole bunch of terrestrial weeds.
Oh, okay.
Crazy.
Looks like a good day. Good one to cheer for.
Yeah, it was a successful haul.
Yeah.
I'm really interested too on the some of the publications that are coming for the Roseville Homes. Maybe a future submission video, if you will. But I'm excited to see it.
Yeah. Are you referring to the Star Tribune? Yeah. So it was funny. I have a Google alert set up for Ramsey-Washington, and the first alert came up. It actually had Dave's name in it.
Yeah.
And I tried to find it, but I guess they edited it.
Oh, really?
So it doesn't appear in the actual, daily print. So maybe it's an evening update or something.
Here, did you get the email? Oh, not the full article, yeah, because his name is in it. He had a quote, I think, or 2.
When I read the article,
So the article,
July 23rd.
July 23rd. Well, I'll send it, I'll forward it to you. I thought it had gotten sent to you.
I'm building on the positivity on the flood stuff. We joined during a wet year. We proactively worked, and I'm just happy with the results. It's been really cool.
Yeah.
Just
another comment. I also stopped by the National Night Out. Eastside Boys and Girls Club. My husband happens to be on the board, so we're there. And ran into Representative McCollum. So she actually mentioned the pollinator garden, and apparently Carol says this is going to be maybe highlighted in her next newsletter. So I did do the plug for the watershed.
Okay.
The flood reduction before she said, "Oh, I gotta go."
Great, thanks for sharing that.
Any comments or questions on some of the other ones? Wonderful.
Just curious, I wasn't able to make the Wayland chain bike tour. Anybody Any participants?
Yes, I've gotten to participate in 2 of them. One was I'm gonna get it wrong, Market Fest, and then just a little bit, and it was great to see the traffic through the booth.
Yeah.
It was insane. I think whomever thought of giving out rain gauges really.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were a huge hit. And then they had this wonderful setup about native plants. Talk about those with, kids must have loved that. And so yeah, lots of traffic, lots of good discussion. The bike ride was very good. I want to compliment Pat's not here. He did a phenomenal job talking. Paul did a great job, phenomenal job talking. Eric was the caboose, unfortunately directly behind me. But I mean, it was great. It was a really good outreach thing, honestly. And I think we showed up very professionally. I think it went really well. And there was a lot of good engagement for the morning when I was on.
Yeah, I was mentioning earlier too that most of the participants have not participated in an event with us before, so it really reached a new audience.
Oh, yeah, I'm building on that. Like, it was a really good mix of different ages and backgrounds. There was definitely someone from Bowser there. I can't remember Eric, her name. She was wonderful. But yeah, it was really fun. I had a friend bring a dog, and so that was also kind of fun. But yeah, it great participation. I was just surprised, like, oh, y'all do this? Like, why would you do that? And then, what makes you do this? And it was really cool. So trivia is tomorrow night, 6 to 8.
Yeah, and
Right up the road.
Yeah. You're not gonna be in that?
I wanted to. I signed my daughter.
Will you show up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, just show up for that.
I was told, it was either by Eric or Pat, that Connor, right? Cooper. Names today. I messed up twice at work. So Cooper has a good list of questions. Is what I was told.
Yeah, Cooper and Jewel, I think, are gonna be there. They have their come ready for watershed trivia.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
Wonderful. Any motion to adjourn or comments or questions first? Perfect. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Do I get a second?
I will second.
You're done.
Good meeting. This might be one of the